Hi, welcome back to my channel. I'm really happy to be able to present another crochet tutorial for you. Today it will be the Lacy Shells Christmas Stocking pattern. I know that it's barely November and it's actually the week of Halloween when I'm filming this, but I know that a lot of people get a really big head start on Christmas decorations and Christmas presents around this time of year. And I figure since these are more decorations than presents, although these would make a really nice gift, I figured that I would put this out a little early in November so that you have a chance to make some of these if you like. They don't take very long to make. You can probably get one of these stockings done in a day or two, maybe faster. It just kind of depends on what type of yarn you use and how fast of a crocheter you are. This is a very beginner-friendly pattern. As long as you know some of the basic stitches, you should be just fine. And in fact, the initial part of this pattern, this first part here, actually is exactly the same as my previous pattern. So it starts off using the same sort of techniques. And so if you found the hat easy to make, you should find this easy to make as well. But if you're coming here for the first time and you've never seen my previous pattern, that's okay too. I go through all of the steps with you so you'll know how to make this. If you like, there is a written pattern for purchase. It's only a couple dollars. It has a bunch of extra photos in it and it has the written instructions. Just a way to support me in this channel, but you do not have to purchase it if you don't want to. That is perfectly fine. It's just an option if you would like a written pattern. Let's get started. All right, so here are all the materials you will need for our stocking pattern. The main one of which, of course, is our yarn. I chose the Premier Cotton Fair yarn for a few reasons. My main reason was that I really wanted a cotton yarn for my stocking. Cotton doesn't always have as much give as acrylic, but it is very strong. Also, it tends to wash fairly well. And so I wanted something that would be really strong because stockings tend to have a lot of stuff jammed into them. And then when I found this, I saw that it was a cotton acrylic blend, and that's really nice because you do get that added stretch of the acrylic while also still being stronger because of the cotton. And I don't know how much this will shrink when you wash it. I imagine because they want you to dry flat and not in a washing machine, I imagine that this still will shrink. But it feels very nice. It was very nice to work with, as you will see in this video. And I really liked that it was a weight too, and it just gave it a little bit of a finer look to it. This isn't too expensive. It's about $4.99, I believe, at Michael's. It's probably about the same at Joann's. And coupons work on it, so you can usually get this for a couple dollars, and you only need one ball of this. One stocking is approximately about 260 yards. So beyond the yarn, you will also need a crochet hook. This is a 3.5 millimeter hook, also known as an E-hook. You can, of course, go up or down in your hook size. You can also go up or down in your yarn size. If you need to know how to add stitches or subtract stitches to your pattern, depending on what yarn and hook you're using, there is a chart in the written pattern that will help you get started. You can probably calculate it on your own through just watching this video, but it will make it a little bit easier if you don't have to worry about doing the calculations yourself. So beyond the yarn and the hook, you just need a tapestry needle or a yarn needle and some scissors. You won't be using these very much. The good thing is this pattern only has 2 ends to weave in, so it's really simple, really fun, and I think that you will enjoy it. All right, so if you watched my previous tutorial, these first several rows may actually seem very similar to you. We're going to be working in the round, and we're going to be creating this solid portion of the toe right here. And you might notice it looks very similar to a hat. And I'm using the same technique I used for the beginning rows of my fall pumpkin hat. And so this will seem very similar to you for the first few rows. So let's get started. As usual, you are going to start with a slip knot. I just make mine like that. And you're going to chain 4. So 1, 2, 3, 4. All right. And alternatively, you could start this with a magic circle. I am very bad at them, so I don't do them. But you could do a magic circle and put 10 double crochet into the magic circle. So for us, after we've chained 4, we're going to slip stitch to the first chain of the chain 4, basically to create this little tiny circle that we're going to crochet our 10 double crochet into, if I can actually get in here. Let's see. Sometimes it's gonna be hard to see. All right, there we go. It's always fun trying to film where I actually don't look through my phone to see this. I actually look around it, and sometimes it can be a little bit of a pain trying to judge, like, okay, am I looking at this? And can everybody see what I'm doing? And also, can I see what I'm doing? But anyway, so once you have slip stitched to the first chain of the chain 4, you're going to go ahead and chain 3. This will count as our first double crochet. So 1, 2, and 3. All right, and then we're going to double crochet 9 more into this space, and that will complete round 1. All right, once you have crocheted a total of 10 stitches. So the first is the chain 3, counts as the first double crochet, and then an additional 9 double crochet for a total of 10. Once you get to the end of this first round, you're just going to slip stitch into the third chain of the chain 3 to join the round. This can be a little bit tricky sometimes, especially with a lower weight yarn, but it does tend to make it a little bit nicer. Just get that in there. It also helps having longer nails. All right, there we go. And that is the end of round 1. So for round 2, we're going to be increasing. So we did 10 double crochet in the first round. In the second round, we're going to be doing 20. So of course, we're going to start out with our chain 3. 1, 2, 3. And then we're going to be doing a double crochet into the same space as this chain 3. Go ahead and stick it in there. If you're finding it a little difficult, you might want to try crocheting just a little bit looser. I have a horrible habit of crocheting very tightly, and it does make it a little difficult to put the stitches in whenever I have to do 2 at the beginning here. All right, so now we're going to be doing 2 double crochet into each stitch around until we have 20. All right, at the end of round 2, we're also going to join it with a slip stitch to the third chain of the chain 3. And that's how we're going to be joining all of these first few rounds, as you will see. So this is the end of round 2. All right, so for round 3, we're going to start it with our chain 3 as our first double crochet. 2, 3. And then we're going to double crochet into the same space. And we're going to do a single double crochet into this next stitch. And this will be the pattern that we repeat all the way around for round 3. So again, it will be 2 double crochet into one stitch, and then it will be 1 double crochet into the next stitch. So you will repeat 2 double crochet, then 1 double crochet, 2 double crochet, then 1 double crochet, and you will have a total of 30 double crochet by the end of round 3. All right, once we have done our 30 double crochet, we are going to join with the third stitch at the beginning of the chain 3 at the beginning of the round. Again, I crochet a little too tightly for my own good sometimes, I think. I have to get all these strands. This yarn isn't too splitty. It's just once in a while it can split a little bit. It's not too bad, but it can be a little annoying. All right, so there we go. We have our completed round 3. All right, so round 4 is exactly the same as round 3. So we are going to chain 3 for our first double crochet. Double crochet into the same space as the chain 3. And then do 1 double crochet into the next stitch. And we're going to repeat this pattern of two double crochet, then 1 double crochet all the way around until we each reach the end of round 4. So once again, 1, 2 double crochet into 1 stitch, and 1 double crochet into the next stitch. All right, I'll meet you at the end of round 4. All right, once you reach the end of round 4, you should have a total of 45 double crochet, including the chain 3 at the beginning. And this is what you'll notice. We're going to be increasing by 15 each round until we get to a total of 90 double crochet. This pattern basically can be increased and decreased actually by 5 stitches total. And so if you need to make yours larger or smaller, what you'll ultimately wind up doing is either doing more rounds of this, more stitches of this, or you'll be doing fewer of them, and you'll be increasing or decreasing by the amount that you want. So for the end of round 4, we will be joining with the 3rd chain of the chain 3 as usual. As long as I'm holding my hook the correct way and not trying to go in the wrong way. All right, there we go. That is the end of round 4. All right, so for round 5, we're going to start it like we've started the other rounds. We're going to chain 3 for our first double crochet. And then we are going to double crochet into the same space as the chain 3. And for round 5, we are going to do 60 double crochet. We are increasing by 15 for each round. I found that doing it this way makes it a really nice shape, and it increases the amount that I want it to. Does it nice and evenly, and it looks pretty good. So that's just why I've chosen to do it that way. So we have our chain 3 and our double crochet in the same space. And then we are going to double crochet into the next stitch, just 1 double crochet. And we're going to do just 1 double crochet into the next stitch. And that is going to be our pattern for this round. It's going to be 2 double crochet into 1 stitch, and 1 double crochet into each of the next 2 stitches. So again, we'll have 2 double crochet into this stitch here, followed by 1 double crochet into each of the next 2 stitches. So it's a pattern of 1 double crochet, or it's a pattern of 2 double crochet, then 1 double crochet, and then 1 double crochet. And we're going to repeat that pattern around until we get to the end of round 5. All right, so now at the end of round 5, we're going to join it with the 3rd chain of the chain 3 to complete the round. I can just get that in there. I've been having too many problems this time, but let's just give me a little bit of grief on this round. All right, so that is round 5. So you should have 10 double crochet in round 1, 20 in round 2, 30 in round 3, 45 in round 4, and 60 double crochet in round 5. Make sure you count them, make sure that you have the right amount of stitches, and then we will proceed to round 6. All right, so like the other rounds, round 6 starts off with a chain of 3, 2, 3 as our first double crochet, and put another double crochet into the same space as the chain 3. And that will give us our first 2 double crochet. And then we're going to do 1 double crochet into each of the next 3 stitches. So we have 1, 2, and 3. And that will be our pattern for this round. We will be doing 75 double crochet into round 6. So again, that pattern is going to be 2 double crochet into 1 stitch, and then 1 double crochet into each of the next 3 stitches. So 2 double crochet, 1 double crochet, 1 double crochet, and 1 double crochet. I think I said that right. There should be a 2 double crochet cluster and then 3 single double crochets. All right, make sure that's correct. Yep. All right, so follow this pattern all the way around and I will meet you at the end of this round. All right, so at the end of round 6, you should have 75 double crochet, and we're going to join with a slip stitch to the 3rd chain of the chain 3 from the beginning of the round. And that will be the end of round 6. There we go. All right. Round 7 is going to be our last round of increases. You're going to have a total of 90 double crochet by the time you're done with round 7. So to start, we are going to do our chain 3 to count as the first double crochet, and we will be doing another double crochet into the same space. So we have our 2 double crochet group here, and then we will be doing 1 double crochet into each of the next 4 stitches. We have 1, 2, 3, and 4. And this is going to be our pattern for this round. So again, 2 double crochet into 1 stitch, and then 1 double crochet into each of the next 4 stitches. So 1, 2, 3, and 4. And we will just be repeating this all the way around until you have 90 double crochet and we reach the end of the round. All right, we have reached the end of round 7. We're going to join with a slip stitch to the 3rd chain of the chain 3, and that will be the end of our increasing rounds. All right, so for round 8, before we get started with the nice lacy part of our stocking, we do have to do one more round of solid double crochet, but this one's super easy. All it is 1 double crochet into each stitch. So it's just going to be another 90 double crochet. And this will start to actually form a stocking shape rather than just being the flat disc that it is now. So we're going to chain 3, 1, 2, 3 as our first double crochet, but we don't have to put another one in the same space. So let's go ahead and we will double crochet all the way around, just 1 double crochet into each stitch, and I will meet you at the end of this round. All right, we have reached the end of round 8. We will join with a slip stitch to the 3rd chain of the chain 3, and that will complete this round. All right, so now we will begin on the lacy portion of our lacy stocking. All right, so for round 9, we're going to begin our lace pattern that we will use for just about all of the rest of the stocking. There are a couple parts that'll be slightly different, but for the most part, we'll be following this pattern throughout the rest of the stocking. For this first row of it, we will be chaining 1, and then we will be doing a single crochet into the same space. And if you have a hard time finding this, you can always put a stitch marker in here into the single crochet. That always helps if you're not really used to working in a round. It's a good idea to put a stitch marker there so you know when you reach the end of the round. Otherwise, you might just work in a continuous circle, which is okay for some patterns, but that is not the intention with this one. Okay, so when you have your single crochet, you're going to chain 4. So 1, 2, 3, and 4. And then we are going to skip 4. So 1, 2, 3, 4. And in the 5th one, we are going to place a single crochet. Then we're going to chain 4. 1, 2, 3, 4. Skip 4. 1, 2, 3, 4. And single crochet into the next stitch. And we're just going to repeat this around for round 9, and I will meet you at the end. All right, when you reach the end of round 9, we are going to go ahead and join with a slip stitch to this first single crochet right here. And there we go. You should have 18 chain 4 spaces. You may have more or less depending on if you decided to use a larger or smaller yarn, but for 90 double crochet from the previous round, you should have 18 chain 4 spaces. All right, so for round 10, we're actually going to start out with a slip stitch into this first chain 4 space right here. So we're going to insert a hook into this space and just do a slip stitch. And then we are going to do our shell into this chain 4 space. And for the purposes of this pattern, a shell is a single crochet, a half double crochet, a double crochet, a half double crochet, and a single crochet all into this same chain 4 space. So we're going to do our single crochet, our half double crochet, our double crochet, our half double crochet, and our single crochet. Now create this nice little shell right here. And we're going to repeat that pattern in every chain 4 space all the way around. So once again, it's going to be a single crochet, and you won't be doing any chains or anything. You're just going to be going into the next chain 4 space and doing another shell. So you ended on a single crochet for the first shell, so then you're just going to go into this next chain 4 space and do another single crochet to start the second shell. So we have our single crochet, our half double crochet, our double crochet, our half double, and our single. All right, and so you're going to do a shell into each chain 4 space all the way around, and I will meet you at the end of this round. All right, so at the end of round 10, you're going to go ahead and join to the first single crochet. You're just going to do a slip stitch. All right, and there we are. So you should have 18 shells in round 10. All right, and let's move on to the next round. All right, so for round 11, we are going to need to slip stitch into each of the next 2 stitches because we want to get to the top of the shell. So 1 slip stitch and 2 slip stitch. Then we are going to chain 1 and single crochet into the same space. And then we are going to chain 4, 1, 2, 3, 4, and we are going to skip the next 4 stitches, 1, 2, 3, 4, and into the next stitch we will place a single crochet. The single crochet will always go into the top of the double crochet of each shell, if that helps you. But you're always going to be skipping 4 stitches. So once you have your single crochet in the top of the shell, you're going to chain 4. 1, 2, 3, 4, and skip 4 stitches. 1, 2, 3, 4, and single crochet into the top of the double crochet. And we're going to repeat this pattern around until the end, and I will meet you at the end of this round. All right, when you reach the end of round 11, we're going to go ahead and join with a slip stitch to the first single crochet. All right, and that was round 11. So what you're going to be doing for the next 10 rounds is you're just going to be repeating rounds 10 and 11. So you'll just be doing a round of the shells and then a round of the chain 4s and single crochets. So when we reach round 20, when you reach the end of round 21, we will meet back up so we can do the heel portion. Make sure if you decide to do this toe portion longer or shorter that you always end with a chain 4 round. Because you can make it longer or shorter, especially if you're using a larger or smaller yarn. That's not a problem. This is basically just a pattern repeat of rounds 10 and 11 for as much or as little as you want. All right, so this was the end of round 11, and I will meet you when we reach the end of round 21. All right, so here we are at the end of round 21. So you should have a chunk of this pattern section. You can make this longer or shorter if you like. I know this seems pretty short for the foot section, but when we continue the pattern, you'll see that it actually is not super short. You see this. So you may have to play around with it if you find that it is too short for you or too long for you. You may have to play around with how many rounds you want to do in this section. But of course, for the purposes of this video, we are ending at round 21. So we're going to do our last 4 chains, 2, 3, 4, and we're going to end round 21 with a slip stitch to the first single crochet. And this will be the end of this toe portion or foot section. And then we will begin on the heel section. Okay, so we will now be moving on to the heel portion of this pattern, and the heel portion will be worked in rows instead of rounds. But don't worry, we're not going to have to join the yarn elsewhere. The great thing about this pattern is there should only be 2 ends to weave in, which makes this nice and simple. So what you're going to do is you're going to slip stitch into this first chain 4, and then you're going to chain 3. 1, 2, 3, and this is going to count as our first double crochet. Then we're going to double crochet 4 more into this same chain 4 space. So 1, 2, 3, and 4. And we're going to do that until we have 50 double crochet. So you're going to put 5 double crochet into each of these chain 4 spaces for the next 9 spaces. So we have 5 double crochet here, including the chain 3. All right, so we're going to do another 5 into this chain 4. 1, 2, 3, 4, and 5. All right, so just repeat 5 double crochet into the chain 4 spaces until you have a total of 50 double crochet. That's going to be 5 double crochet into 10 chain 4 spaces. And when you get to the end of this row, we will continue. All right, so this is the end of row 1, and you should have a total of 50 double crochet, 5 double crochet into each of 10 chain 4 spaces. If your stocking it has been adjusted to make it larger or smaller, because maybe you have a different size yarn, different size hook, you may have more or fewer chain 4 spaces, and so you may need to make some adjustments to this heel portion. It's not too difficult to do, but if you would like some help with the numbers, you can go ahead and find that in the written pattern. All right, so for row 2, we're going to go ahead and turn our project, and we're going to chain 3. Again, this counts as our first double crochet. 3. Now, for each row, we are going to be decreasing by 5 stitches until we get to only 5 stitches at the end. In this case, we're going to be doing a total of 10 rows. And so you need to decrease by 5 stitches for each row. Now, if you can do this however you'd like, the way I like to do it is by dividing the total number of stitches by 5, and then doing the decrease in the middle of each cluster of that, so it's a little more even. So in this case, there's 50 stitches, and there are 5 clusters of 10. So in the middle of each section of 10, I'm going to do my decrease. So this will be a nice even look. So we have this first double crochet, which is our chain 3 counts as the first double crochet. So we're going to double crochet 3 more into this same section. Just 3 regular double crochet. All right. And then we are going to do a double crochet decrease. So it's going to be 2 double crochet together. So we're going to take these 2 stitches and do the decrease. So I'm going to go into this stitch, pull up the loop, pull through, and then go into the next stitch, pull up the loop, pull through the first 2 stitches, and then we're going to pull through all 3 on the hook, and that is our double crochet decrease. All right, so then we're going to do actually 8, actually, wait, do I do my numbers? Yes, it's going to be 8 double crochet going forward, and then we'll be doing our next decrease. So we have 1, 2, 3, and 4. And so this is our first section. Like I said, I like to do the decrease in the middle of the section. So now we have 9 double crochet here instead of 10. And so then we're going to be starting the next section of that. So we'll be doing another 4 double crochet. So 1, 2, 3, and 4. And then we will be doing our next double crochet decrease. So going through those, going through the next stitch. And there we are. There's our double crochet decrease. And finishing off this second section, do 1, 2, 3, and 4. So think of them in sections. That's going to be probably the easiest way to think about how to do the decreases. Now, like I said, you don't have to do it this way. You just need to make sure you decrease by 5 stitches, but I find that this is very even and it looks really nice. So you're going to do the rest of this row like that, and I will meet you at the end of row 2. All right, so now we are at the end of row 2. It doesn't look like much of a difference yet, but as you do more of these decrease rows, you will start to notice a big difference in the shape of this heel section. So for row 2, you should have 45 double crochet total. So for the next row, row 3, we are going to go ahead and turn, and we are going to do our chain 3, 1, 2, 3, and then we will be doing a double crochet into each of the next 2 stitches, 1 and 2, well actually 1 and then 2, and then we will be doing our double crochet decrease, 1 and 2, and then we will be doing 7 more double crochet to finish out this little section. All right, so once we've done our first double crochet decrease, we're going to double crochet 7, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, and 7. All right, after we've done our 7 regular double crochet, we're going to do another double crochet decrease. So insert that, pull through the first 2, go into the next stitch, pull through these 2, and go through all 3 loops on the hook, and then we have our next double crochet decrease. And then we're going to continue to do double crochet 7, then a double crochet decrease until we get to the end of the row. When we get to the end of the row, I will explain how to do that. Every other row is just slightly different, just because of the numbers, and I'll go over that when we get to the end of this row. All right, so at the end of row 3, you might notice that you have 4 stitches left. And we only did 3 double crochet at the beginning of this row, but we're going to do 4 double crochet at the end. So just by the nature of how numbers work, every other row is going to be a little uneven with the starting stitches and the ending stitches. So the important thing to keep in mind is to just count the number of double crochet you have, just in case you're a little worried that you didn't do the right amount, because it can get a little confusing when you're trying to figure out where to put the double crochet decreases. And that's okay. Just make sure you're counting. For this row, it should be a total of 40 double crochet. So as long as you have 40 double crochet somehow in this row, that's all that really matters. So you don't have to worry too much about it. But yeah, so every other row, basically rows, I think 8, 6, and 4 are going to have the slightly uneven start and finish of the row. So this row started with 3 double crochet and it ends with 4. All right, now we're going to move on to row 4. All right, so row 4, we're going to turn and chain 3, 1, 2, 3, and we're going to double crochet 2 more times before we do our double crochet decrease. So 1 and 2. And then we're going to go ahead and do our double crochet decrease. There's that one, and there's that one, and there we go, all through all 3 loops. All right, and then we're going to be doing a double crochet in each of the next 6 stitches before we get to our next double crochet decrease. So 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, and 6. All right. So we have our 6 double crochet. And then we will be doing our next double crochet decrease. And this is the pattern we will be repeating until the end of the row. And I will meet you at the end of row 4. All right, so this is the end of row 4. And we will just be doing 3 double crochet at the end of this row. And you should have a total of 35 double crochet. Oh, and it's actually the odd numbered rows that should have the strange, slightly more or less double crochet at the beginning and end. But for row 4, it's just 3 double crochet on either end, so that's not as difficult. But again, just keep in mind the numbers. You're going to be decreasing by 5 for each row. So by the end of row 4, you should have 35 double crochet total. All right, so as usual, for row 5, we're going to turn and chain 3 for our first double crochet. 1, 2, 3. And then we're going to double crochet into the next stitch. All right, and then we will be doing our double crochet decrease. All right, and then we will be double crocheting. Let's see. I have notes that I'm referring to, so I apologize if I pause. It usually means I'm looking at my notes. We're going to be double crocheting into each of the next 5 stitches. So 1, 2, 3, 4, and 5. All right, and then after those 5 double crochet, we're going to be doing our next decrease. And this will be the pattern for this row. And like I said, because it is an odd numbered row, it will have a slightly different number of double crochet at this end than it will at this other end. So I will meet you at the end of row 5. All right, since row 5 is an odd numbered row, it will have a different number of stitches at the end than it did at the beginning. So we're going to be double crocheting 3 in these last stitches to end row 5. And you should have a total of 30 double crochet by the end of this row. All right, and there we go. And you should actually start to see that this is starting to come in. It's a little hard to see when it's this large, but you'll start to notice that it is starting to go in more. And that'll be more and more apparent as we finish crocheting each row. All right, so for row 6, I'm going to turn and do our chain 3 for our first double crochet, 2, 3, and double crochet into the next stitch. And then we are going to be doing our double crochet decrease. And we will be doing 4 double crochet before our next decrease. So we have 1, 2, 3, and 4. And then we will be doing our next decrease. And this will be the pattern for this row. 4 double crochet and a double crochet decrease until we get to the end of this row, and I will meet you there. All right, so at the end of row 6, we're going to be doing 2 double crochet, and you should have a total of 25 double crochet in this row. All right, and there is the last double crochet of the row. And there we go. We only have a few more rows to go, and then we will be done with our heel section. All right, row 7, we're going to turn and do our first double crochet as our chain 3. 1, 2, 3, and that counts as our first double crochet. And then we will be doing a decrease immediately after the chain 3. So there is the first part and the second part, and that will be our decrease. And then we will be crocheting 3 double crochet into the next 3 stitches. So 1, 2, and 3. And then we will be doing our next double crochet decrease, and that will be the pattern for this row. So double crochet 3 and then a double crochet decrease, and I will meet you at the end of this row. All right, and so the end of row 7 is going to end with 2 double crochet, and you should have a total of 20 double crochet in this row. And this should be getting a little bit faster to do. Each row is getting shorter and shorter, so it won't take much time. There's not much time left until we get to the end of the heel, and then we can move on to the next section of this stocking. So that will be fun. All right, row 8, go ahead and turn and do your chain 3 for your first double crochet. 1, 2, 3, and then we are going to immediately do a double crochet decrease right after this chain 3. All right, and there we go. And then we will be doing 2 double crochet into these next stitches. So 1 and 2. All right, and then we will be doing our next double crochet decrease. All right, and that's going to be the pattern. So 2 double crochet and then a double crochet decrease, and then I will meet you at the end of row 8. All right, and row 8 is going to end with just 1 double crochet. All right, the last 2 rounds are going to go by very, very quickly, and they're going to seem probably a little bit different just because there's not nearly as many regular double crochets in them. All right, so that is the end of row 8, and you should have a total of 15 double crochet, and you can really see it taking shape now. There's not too many more stitches left to go. All right, so for row 9, we are going to turn and do chain 3 as our first double crochet. So 1, 2, 3. All right, and then we will be doing a double crochet decrease. And then we will be double crocheting 1. And then our double crochet decrease. And that's going to be the pattern for this row. It's just double crochet 1, then a double crochet decrease. And I will meet you at the end of row 9. All right, and row 9 is actually going to end with a double crochet decrease. We're going to wind up with just a total of 10 double crochet at the end of this row. And we will be ending with a total of 5 double crochet at the end of this last row, row 10. All right, that is the end of row 9 with 10 double crochet, and we will start our last row of the heel. All right, so for row 10, we're going to turn. Now this row is going to start out differently because we have to do 5 double crochet decreases. So we're going to chain 2 instead of 3. We're going to do 1, 2. Then we're going to yarn over, and we're going to insert our hook into the next stitch, yarn over with these 2, and then pull through both loops on the hook, and that is our beginning double crochet decrease. And then we're just going to do 4 more double crochet decreases, and that will be all there is to it for row 10. So we should have a total of 5 double crochet when we reach the end of this row. And that will give us our heel. All right, so we got just 2 more decreases to go. I apologize if this is out of focus. I imagine it probably is a few times. I'm filming on my phone, and it's probably not the best when it comes to auto-focusing, but it's better than my camera. My camera is really good for taking pictures, but not so good for focusing. All right, so that is the end of row 10. So we have 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 double crochet. So it really, if you notice, it really started to go in. It didn't look like it at the start, but it really started going in. So when you look at it from the side, you now start to have what's starting to look like a stocking, or at least a sock. All right, so after this, we will be moving on to the main body of the stocking. All right, so now that we have finished the heel portion, we are going to begin on the body portion of the stocking, which is the largest section. So you're going to turn your work, and we are going to slip stitch into this first double crochet space right here from the beginning of this row. And then we will be doing some shell stitches. So the way that this works is we're going to be making this shell stitch round like we usually do, except that of course we have to put shells on the top of the heel. So the number of shells you have to do is equal to the number of spaces you used for the bottom of the heel portion. In this case, we took up 10 chain 4 spaces with our heel. So we need to do 10 shells. If you don't remember that, remember how many, count how many spaces you normally had in a round, and then basically figure out how many you have that are not in the heel, and then you can figure out how many you need to put in the heel. It's just a bit of math. And I will also do some of that math for you in the written portion if yours is not the same count as mine. So don't worry about that. So we slip stitched into this first double crochet here, and then we chained 1. And then we're going to do a shell stitch into this double crochet right here. And this will be the first of 10 shell stitches that we need to do into this heel. So we'll wind up doing half of them, then we'll be doing some regular shell stitches like we usually do, and then we'll be doing the other half as we finish off the round. So that's our first shell stitch. So then we need to skip a row. So we're going to skip this double crochet, and then we're going to put another shell into this double crochet here. So skip a row, then put the next shell into here. And we're going to repeat that a few more times until we have a total of 5 shells in the heel portion. And then we will be doing the shell stitch normally. So I'm going to go ahead and finish up these other 3 shells, and I'll show you what that looks like when I'm done with that. All right, so this is what the heel looks like with 5 shell stitches in it. So you'll be doing a shell stitch in this first row, skip a row, shell stitch, skip a row, shell stitch, skip a row, shell stitch, skip a row, shell stitch. And then you're going to skip 1 more row, and then you're going to do your shell stitch into this chain 4 space here. And you'll just be doing shell stitches around until we get to the other side of the heel, and then we will be joining like we usually do with the first single crochet of the first shell. All right, so that is that first shell in the chain 4 space. Go ahead and put shells in all the other chain 4 spaces. And when you get to the heel, you will be skipping this first row, and then you'll be putting a shell into the next row, then skip a row, shell stitch, skip a row, shell stitch, and you're going to be doing that until there's 5 shell stitches on this side of the heel. So let's do that, and I will meet you at the end of this round. All right, so we've reached the end of round 1 of the body portion. You'll have 5 shell stitches along the left-hand side of your heel portion, and then for this pattern you should have an additional 8 shells just in the main pattern portion here, and then you should have another 5 on the right hand side of your heel. And so that leaves us at the very end, and we're going to join to this first single crochet of this first shell stitch, and that will be the end of this first round. So there we go. So for round 2 of the body portion, it's going to seem very familiar because we're going to be doing the same things we did for this pattern portion of the toe. So go ahead and slip stitch into the next 2 stitches of this shell, chain 1, and place a single crochet into the same stitch. And then we're going to chain 4, 1, 2, 3, 4. We're going to skip 4 stitches, 1, 2, 3, 4, and then we will place another single crochet into the top of this shell. And we're going to repeat that. We're going to chain 4, skip 4, and then single crochet all the way around. This will seem familiar because it is the exact same as round 11 from the toe portion. So I will meet you at the end of round 2 of the body portion. All right, so at the end of round 2 of the body portion, we're going to chain 4, 1, 2, 3, 4, and go ahead and slip stitch into that first single crochet. All right, and that probably seemed very familiar because that was what we've been doing down here in the toe portion. So it's starting to come to shape. So you can see now we're going to be doing rounds all the way up for the body portion. And so actually for rounds 3 through 30, so the next 28 rounds, you're going to be repeating rounds 10 and 11 from the toe portion. So the next round will be the shell stitches, and the round after that will be these chain 4 and single crochets. And we're going to just repeat that until we get to the end of round 30. So go ahead and do that, and I will meet you there. All right, now here we are at the end of round 30 of the main body portion of the stocking. We're just going to finish off this round with one more chain 4, and then we will join it with a slip stitch to the first single crochet. And then we can begin to do the last few rounds of our stocking. All right, so the last few rounds will just be some finishing rounds. We will be creating the stocking loop and just a couple of solid rounds of double crochet to give it a nice finished look. Now, like a lot of people, I hang my stockings with the toe hanging to the right. So the seam will be on the back side. But if you hang yours with the toe to the left, you may want to fasten off and join the yarn back here, maybe by the heel or on the other side. But for the purposes of this pattern, we are going to slip stitch into this first chain 4, and then we're going to chain 3. 1, 2, 3, and that's going to count as our first double crochet. And then we're going to double crochet 3 more into this same space. So we have 1, 2, and 3. And so we're just going to be putting 4 double crochet into each chain 4 space around. That's all we're doing for this round is double crochets. Just make sure to skip this single crochet. We're not putting any stitches into the single crochet here. Just skip the single crochet and then do 4 more double crochet into this next chain 4 space. We have 1, 2, 3, and 4. And that's it. That's what we're going to be doing for round 31. So go ahead and put 4 double crochet into each chain 4 space around, and I will meet you at the end of this round. All right, we're now at the end of round 31. We're going to go ahead and join with a slip stitch to the 3rd chain of the chain 3. And you should have 4 double crochet in each chain 4 space all the way around. Sorry, it's sometimes hard to see the white yarn with all my lights on it, and then also through the viewfinder. All right, so we're going to slip stitch to the 3rd chain of the chain 3, and that completes round 31. All right, so round 32 is going to be just about the same as round 31, except that we will also be forming the loop for the stocking. Now you want to grab a stitch marker or a paper clip or whatever will allow you to mark where you want to put your loop. And I like to put mine right in, in the middle of the 2 sides, right above the heel. So you sort of have to fiddle with it a little bit. I'll turn mine around and I'll see I'll fold it in half, or not fold it in half, but fold it so that this is as even as possible, and figure out what grouping of these is closest to in the middle. I actually prefer it to be a little bit on the back side. So if you can see, it's not this grouping here, but actually this grouping right here that I want to put my stitch marker in. And I usually put mine in between in the middle of the 4 stitches, so in between 2 and 2. And that way it just looks nice and even, but you can put it wherever you want. It just kind of is personal preference, but I like to put mine right here. So go ahead and locate where you would like your loop to be. So you can see it's a little hard because it's so close, but my loop is located right up here. So it'll be hanging like that. And then you can go ahead and start round 32, which is going to be pretty similar to round 31. So we're going to do our chain 3 as our first double crochet, and then we're going to just double crochet around in each, just double crochet into each double crochet from the round below until we get to the stitch marker. And then I will show you when we get there what we're going to do with that. So just continue on and make sure you put a double crochet all the way around. And I will meet you in the middle of this round to show you what to do when you get to your stitch marker. All right, so when you get to your stitch marker, you want to make sure that you actually are still putting 1 double crochet in each stitch. So make sure you have your double crochet right before you get to your stitch marker. And then we're going to chain 20. So 1, 2. It seems like a lot, but it actually doesn't make a very super large loop. And so once you have your chain 20, you can actually go ahead and remove your stitch marker. And then we are just going to be double crocheting in each stitch around for the rest of the round. So go ahead and place your double crochet into your next stitch. And you want to try to make sure that your loop is all going the same direction, that it's not twisted. So double check that it's all straight. And then just keep double crocheting around until we get to the end of round 32, which is where I will meet you. All right, we've reached the end of the round, so we're going to go ahead and slip stitch to the 3rd chain of the chain 3 to finish round 32. All right, so for round 33, it's going to be very similar. We're going to chain 3 as our first double crochet, and then we're going to double crochet all the way around in each double crochet. So when we get to the loop, I will show you what to do, but until then, just go ahead and double crochet in each stitch around. All right, so now that you have double crochets in each double crochet around up until this point, we're going to be placing single crochets in each of the 20 chains for the loop, and make sure you're putting them into the actual chain itself and not into the chain space. It doesn't look quite as good in the space itself, and I figure it might be a little bit stronger this way. So we're going to just do our single crochets in each chain around for this loop. All right, and go ahead and count to make sure you have the correct number of single crochets. All right, we have 20 single crochet into each of the 20 chains of our loop. So then we are going to continue along with our double crochets in each of the double crochets around. So double crochet in the rest of the stitches around, and I will meet you at the end of round 33. All right, and to end this round, as usual, we will be slip stitching into the third chain of the chain 3. And there you go, that is round 33. All right, now we're on our last round. Round 34 will be the last one before the end of the project. And this round is very simple. We will be doing our chain 3 as our first double crochet, and then we will just be double crocheting into each double crochet around. When we get to the loop, I will show you what to do, but in the meantime, just double crochet around. And there you go. I will meet you at the loop. All right, when you get to the loop, make sure you've double crocheted all the way up to the loop. Don't double crochet into any of the single crochets, but make sure you have a double crochet in each of the double crochets. So then what you're going to do, you're actually going to push the loop into the stocking itself, so on the inside of it. And then you're just going to place a double crochet into the next double crochet, essentially encapsulating the loop so that it stays on the inside. So if you can see, this is the top and the loop is inside. And then we will just be double crocheting into the rest of the double crochets all the way till the end of the round, and that's where I will meet you. All right, we have reached the end of round 34 and the end of the project. Go ahead and slip stitch into the third chain of the chain 3 one more time, and there you go. That is the end of the Lacy Shells Stocking project. Now, if you would prefer to have a top that folds over, you can continue to do rounds of double crochet. Just do them one double crochet in each double crochet around, and whenever you get to the height that you prefer, you can go ahead and fold it over. Just make sure you have access to the loop. And of course, this pattern is very easy to adjust to your needs. You can make it larger or smaller, shorter or taller, depending on what will suit you best. Once you are done with any of your adjustments, go ahead and cut off the yarn with your scissors and fasten off. And like I said at the beginning of the project, you should only have 2 ends to weave in. We have this one end down here, and then if you turn the stocking inside out, we should have one down here at the toe. And that's it. You should only have 2 ends to weave in, barring any issues with knots in your yarn, or if you wanted to move this seam to the side. That's all you need to do. So you'll go ahead and weave in those ends, and your Lacy Shells stocking is all done. I hope you enjoyed this, and let me know if you have any questions. All right, so that was how to make the Lacy Shells Christmas stocking. Now, this stocking can of course be great just on its own. You can leave it with the open work pattern and be able to see what's in it. I plan to use mine to put those smelly pine cones in there. I always love getting cinnamon pine cones around Christmas, and I want to put some in here and have it be just a nice way to have a decoration and have it be functional. You could also line this if you like. It shouldn't be too difficult to line as long as you have a sewing machine or even just some basic sewing skills. You could also make this so it covers an existing stocking. You might have to make it just slightly larger, but it's not too difficult to make it larger. There's also instructions in the written pattern on how to increase and decrease this pattern a little more specifically if you don't want to have to calculate it out yourself. And yeah, so it's just a really nice, simple stocking pattern that's has just slightly more interest than just a basic stocking pattern. And of course, there's nothing wrong with those at all. Those make a great project as well. I just wanted to make something with a little bit more interest. I really like lacy things, but I wanted to make something that was lacy and pretty, but also beginner friendly. So, like I said, there is a written pattern if you would like to support the channel. I always appreciate it. It basically just helps cover materials for me. I also have a Ko-fi in the description as well if you just feel like supporting me that way. But the biggest form of support is literally just watching this video. Liking and subscribing also really helps, but just by simply watching this video, that's really, really helpful, and I really appreciate it so much. You guys actually showed me a lot of support in my previous pattern video, which was really great. It was the first time I'd ever made a pattern video, and I'm still learning how to do them. I'm learning a bit more about how to set them up, how to film them. If you've seen my last video, my setup has still not changed. I am still sitting on the floor, hunched over by, going around a camera to crochet. So that'll be my first big purchase towards this whole thing. Will be a like coffee table so I can film a little bit easier. But otherwise it's going great. I have several more patterns in the works that will be coming out at various times of the year. Mostly they'll be coming out next year. But I do have one pattern in mind to come out before the end of the year, and that will be a great Christmas present, and it'll be very beginner friendly. It's actually using only like the most basic of stitches and basic of patterns, and it's such a nice little project. So please look forward to that coming out. That should be out sometime late November, early December. And so yeah, thank you so much for watching. I hope you get a chance to make your own stocking. If you have any questions or comments or critique or advice or just want to say hi, go ahead and leave them down in the comment section below, and I will try to get back to you as soon as I can. And thank you so much for watching, and I hope you have a wonderful day and a wonderful fall. Bye.